everybody, Dan Illman here with the DRF race of the day for Friday, December the 23rd. It's race number 7 at Gulfstream Park. We're going a one-turn mile for 3-year-olds and up. It's a first-level allowance race with a $25,000 claiming option. Let's take a look at this field. The key to this race is the number 7 Expressman. Which Expressman is going to show up? Is it the Expressman that ran a whopping 107 Beyer speed figure in his debut, or the Expressman that ran well in his second lifetime start but was beaten at 1-5? We throw up the Timeform US pace projector, and if you're a pace fan, maybe you'll believe that the debut Expressman shows up, because on the pace projector he's expected to make the lead, and if this talented horse gets a breather on the backstretch and runs anything close to his debut, he could be long gone. We'll get a little bit more to Expressman in a bit, but first let's talk about some of the horses in post position order, beginning with the number 1, the Skipper 2, who just ran second in this race, a first-level allowance at Gulfstream way back on October the 1st, and he ran fine in this race. The 5th place horse would come back to run third in a $16,000 starter with an 80 Beyer speed figure. He's consistent. He's hit the board in his last 4 races. He has the tactical speed to lead or rate. He's likely going to rate off the pace in this spot, maybe in the second flight or so while saving valuable ground. But he has lots of seconds on his resume, more minor awards than wins, and I do think he's going to have to take a step forward to beat this field. The number 2, Desert Ruler, is in exceptional form right now, having won 3 of his last 4 starts. And in his last 4 starts, he's earned 3 Beyer speed figures of 90, including this race, $16,000 starter allowance at Gulfstream, going 7/8 of a mile last month. He got a good trip in this race, sitting off a moderate pace, but he gets to the front and he goes about his business. This horse's confidence is sky high right now. He's going to be jumping up from the starter allowance ranks into the first level allowance condition. It is a pretty significant step up in class, but his Beyer speed figures indicate that he can compete at this level. He is very comfortable at the one-turn mile, and he does have good tactical speed. Mr. Tito's comes off a win as well. This is an $8,000 starter at Gulfstream on November the 18th. What I liked about this race was the pace wasn't necessarily fast, and Mr. Tito's advanced into the teeth of the pace as it began to quicken. We see him grinding down the leaders while racing on his left lead to score. Career best Beyer speed figure of 87 for Mr. Tito's in this race, an honest horse who's hit the board in 18 of 36. But he's also stepping up out of the starter allowance ranks back into a first level allowance. He did run well at a first level allowance at Gulfstream back in June, although not championship meet caliber horses that day. The pace should be faster this time around. Expect Mr. Tito's to come from farther off of the pace. I expect a rally. I wonder if a minor award is his ceiling against this group of company. The 4 is Universal Payday. I believe this horse is taking a double drop in class. He was entered for the 62.5 last time out in a second level allowance race on October the 16th, and Universal Payday just couldn't do much against that group. It was a much tougher group. The runner-up came back to win a state-bred stake at Tampa Bay with an 88 Beyer speed figure. That horse is already a multiple stakes winner. Universal Payday gets class relief. He needs pace. He does not have a lot of early speed. He's going to drop out to the back of the field, and he's going to need a little bit of pace, and he's going to need a little bit of racing luck. And if he gets those at this level, at this distance, he might be able to charge late and spice up your exotics at a price. Number 5 is Loose Goose. Todd Pletcher trains Expressman, the likely favorite. He also has Loose Goose coming off a victory, albeit way back in July at Monmouth Park. Let's watch that race right now. It was a short field of weak maidens. Loose Goose was 1-5, and he got a great trip. He sat just off a very moderate pace, but he takes over the lead, and he beats these horses like an odds-on favorite should. He has now paired up 77 Beyer speed figures in his last 2 races. This horse is all upside. He's only had 4 starts in his career. I doubt that we've seen his best. Pletcher is good off layoffs, especially at Gulfstream Park, but he is going to be taking a step up in class. Tallahatchie Bridge's only lifetime race win came on turf, but we're going to go back to his good effort on dirt 2 starts back, also at Monmouth during the summer. This is a first-level allowance race at a mile and a 16th. No pace on whatsoever. They ran the half in a glacial 49 seconds flat. It was a very tightly grouped field. Tallahatchie Bridge was in between horses at the back. He's only going to get beat a length by Command Performance, a horse that's grade 1 place, and the runner-up would come back to win a first-level allowance with an 84 Beyer. Tallahatchie Bridge galloped out very well after the fact. He showed that he can handle dirt. I think with a little bit more pace, we're going to see him taken off of the pace and come with a run. He's run once since the race we just showed you. It was a graded stakes race on turf at Kentucky Downs. He might have been a little bit overmatched in that race. The distance might have been a little bit too far for him. And maybe that European-style configuration at Kentucky Downs just wasn't his cup of tea. I'm expecting better for the Saffie Joseph trainee, Tallahatchie Bridge. Here's Expressman. A lot of eyes are going to be on him. Again, 107 Beyer speed figure in his debut at Saratoga. He was going a demanding 7/8 of a mile that day, and he just showed that field his heels. He came back and was defeated, but he ran very well, I thought, at Belmont at Aqueduct on September the 17th. He was involved in an extremely fast pace with several other horses. So not only did he have to go fast, but he was facing pressure every step. He got the better of all of those pace horses, and then a good trip closer was able to run him down. And the closer's a pretty good horse. He would come back to run second in a second-level allowance with a 97 Beyer. Expressman finished ahead of two next-out winners in that loss. He got a little bit of a freshening for Pletcher. I'm not worried about him stretching out incrementally to the mile, and if he gets to the front, he'll be tough to catch. Glider is the number 8, of course, perhaps gliding under the radar for Mark Casse. We haven't seen him since the summer at Woodbine over a Tapeta surface. Finished an honest third in a key race. The winner coming back to win a high-level allowance on turf at Woodbine with a 90 Beyer. He's done some good things on dirt. He was second to Emmanuel, despite failing to change leads at Tampa Bay in early 2022. Emmanuel at that point was on the Triple Crown Trail for Pletcher, became a very useful turf horse. I think Glider needed the break. He's coming back listed as a first-time gelding, and I think he's a horse that can threaten with a late kick. Chrome Republic is the 9, a horse that might be dirtied up just a little bit in form. Ran on turf last time out, probably not his surface. Ran on synthetic 2 starts back. A, probably not his surface. B, the race wasn't one to suit him. He was trying to come from far back in a race that didn't have any kind of pace. Go back to his dirt effort. Way back on March the 4th at Gulfstream, he got some pace, and he ran that day. He rallied from off of it to win. He looked promising, and he's now getting back on that surface. Maybe Chrome Republic is just a little bit dirtied up, and he could be racing himself back into shape for this, his 3rd start since March. Black Belt has really taken a step forward since being claimed by Peter Walter. He's won both starts for the barn, including this race, $20,000 starter at Gulfstream on October the 16th. He ran really well in this spot. Fast pace, 45-1 for the half, up close to the lead, spurts clear, holds sway. Career best 91. It looks like Black Belt has found himself in the Walter barn. He draws very well outside of the other speeds. I expect him to be in closest attendance to Expressman in the early part. He's a 4-time winner. Arad Ortiz takes them out. F5, nice debut winner at Churchill Downs for the 11 F5. That race was going 3/4 of a mile. A lot of times you see these first-time starters, they fall behind early, and they get a little bit disillusioned, and they just don't come with their kick. A lot of first-time starters, when they win, it's on the lead. F5 overcame adversity. He rallied past horses to win. He's going to have to now stretch out and step up. That's a big combination for F5, but he did show ability in that debut. And completing the field on the far, far outside is Kiss a Lot. To a 7th in an allowance at Keeneland last time out. That was a really tough spot, though. The 5th place horse would come back to win a first-level allowance with a 92 Beyer speed figure. Kiss a Lot was second in the graded Smarty Jones 2 starts back. Maybe not the greatest edition of the Smarty Jones, but he showed tactical speed that day, and he gave a solid enough performance. I think Jose Ortiz is going to be aggressive with Kiss a Lot. Try to get him into the race early without losing too much ground. I wonder how much upside is there after 14 starts, but the Saffie Joseph trainee has shown some ability sprinkled throughout his career. Before we get to my top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for all the latest DRF video franchises. Top pick time for our Friday race of the day. Expressman's the horse to catch and beat. I'm going to give Tallahatchie Bridge a little bit of a look, going turf to dirt for Saffie Joseph and getting Lasix again. I believe he's 4 for 10 with older horses, turf to dirt, Lasix on. You can click on his name in the Formulator past performances and play around with those trainer stats. I thought his race 2 starts back was okay. He's going to need some pace help here. I do think he's going to come with a little bit of a kick under Junior Alvarado. We'll see if Expressman can run back to the 107 Beyer of his career debut in Friday's race of the day, the 7th at Gulfstream Park. Good luck.